part 2 of the chapter Our Environment, Standard 10 Science. So here we will be first seeing how the energy flows, because we have studied our food web and food chain. So how does the energy flow? So generally it is told that it is the producers or the green plants which convert sun's energy into food, and later on at each trophic level one organism is eaten by another organism. So there is definitely a flow of energy. So how does this happen? So the green plants, they capture 1% of the sunlight and they convert it into food energy. This is through the process of photosynthesis. Now when these green plants are further eaten by primary consumers, 10% of the energy is transferred on an average to that animal. Now these herbivores are then eaten by carnivores. Again we find that on an average 10% of energy is transferred, because 90% of the energy is utilized by the living organisms for its maintenance. So at each step we will see there is a transfer of energy of only 10%. Now this is the reason that every there are in a food chain there are hardly 3 to 4 levels, because what happens, as we go higher and higher the amount of energy transferred is becoming less and less, so it becomes useless to have that. So the loss of energy is negligible after maximum 4 steps. So this is what happens. So herbivores and carnivores, the sun's energy is first transferred by producers into food energy by photosynthesis. Later these are eaten up by herbivores and carnivores. This is how energy flows. But one thing we should remember here, energy always flows in a unidirectional motion. It is always from the producers to the third and fourth trophic levels. So we can see one example here how things work. So this is the flow of energy. If you can see, this is an example. This is the producer plant. Supposing it had 1000 kilojoules of energy. Now it is eaten by the primary consumer, in which 10% is transferred. The 10% is 100 kilojoules. This is eaten by the secondary consumer. 10% of 100 means 10 kilojoules. Then it is eaten by the tertiary consumers. So this is called the flow of energy. As we can see, successively the amount of energy transferred is becoming less and less. So for this this is based on 2 laws of thermodynamics. So which are the 2 laws of thermodynamics? So the first law is, thermodynamics states that energy can neither be created nor be destroyed. It can only be changed from one form to another. This is the first law of thermodynamics. So what does the second law of thermodynamics say? Second law of thermodynamics states that as the energy level, as the number of energy transfers increase, there is a loss or a waste of energy at each transfer. So maximum 3-4 tertiary maximum 3-4 trophic levels are seen, because after that it becomes absolutely negligible flow of energy. So based on this law and what has been observed, a law is made which is called the 10% law. So what does the 10% law tell us? The 10% law tells us that when energy is transferred from one trophic level to another, only 10% of the energy is transferred to the next trophic level. On an average, 90% of the energy which is got by an organism is used for its maintenance. Maintenance means all the biological processes, and it can transfer at the max on an average 10%. So due to this decline, what can happen? First is, you will find that there are lesser number of organisms in each trophic level. As we go up, number of organisms decrease. What is the second thing? There are only limited number of trophic levels, as we have told, maximum 3 or 4. That is the reason. So this is another simple example. Sun converted into energy by plants, then a deer, then a lion. So we will see this. So this is what happens. Now, what are pesticides? So pesticides are chemicals to use pest organisms. What are pests? Pests are any, we can say, organism which causes great damage by crops. These are called pests. So there are different types of pesticides nowadays available. So insecticides, these are for killing insects. Fungicides for killing the different types of fungi. Weedicides for killing the weeds. Nematicides for killing the nematodes. Rodenticides for killing the rodents like rat. Now these are frequently used in agriculture for protection against all these pests, also during storage. What is the meaning of this? It means that every point of production of the crops and storage till it reaches the consumer, chemicals are being used. Now when chemicals are used, it will give you benefits, but there is another disadvantage with that also. What if it is sprayed more than required, and what if it carries to the tertiary level? So that comes another problem called as biological magnification. So what do you mean by biological magnification? So it is the increase in the concentration of harmful substances or toxic substances, as we can say, as we go higher in the food chain. This is it accumulates as we go up and up. The same thing, remember that toxic materials are toxic first because they harm your biological tissues and cells and the system. Second, because they are not broken down into simpler substances, or in other words, they are not digested. So if they are not digested, they are accumulated, and as we go higher up in the series, the chemicals get accumulated in that organism. So if we see, the maximum concentration occurs in the organisms which are there in the topmost rank. So which are those poisonous and harmful? They are generally DDTs. They are sprinkled to kill the pests. Also there are different types of weedicides, there are different types of fertilizers which also are full of chemicals. Now the problem is, human beings generally occupy the highest topic level. It means what has been produced and what has been eaten by other animals ultimately end into the stomach of the humans. So humans have the maximum biological magnification. Now this can be seen by a small diagram where we can see yes. So now this is water. Now this is 0.03 ppm. ppm means parts per million. If you can see, concentration is very less. Now these are converted by using into food by zooplankton. Zooplankton, if you see the DDT percentage, DDT is a harmful chemical, its percentage has risen to 0.04 ppm. So see, concentration is increased. Then these zooplanktons are eaten. Now this is an aquatic environment which we are talking. These are eaten by small fish. If you can see, the DDT is 0.5 ppm, 0.5 parts per million. Now the small fish are eaten by the big fish. It has risen to 2 ppm, and these are finally eaten by fish eating birds, 5 ppm. So we have started from 0.03, we have entered 5 ppm. This is called biological magnification. The same thing is shown here also. Water, zooplankton, which is eaten by small fish and large fish fishing. So this is how biological magnification occurs. Now how do this actually enter a chain? So the first is, we use several pesticides and fertilizers during production of crops. Now these are absorbed into, these means the pesticides and harmful chemicals are absorbed along with water and soil into the plants. Now the entry of these into the producers, it means the plants, it starts the entry of these harmful substances into the food chain, because plants will be eaten by herbivores, which will be eaten by carnivores, and so on. So this transfer then goes on till it ultimately reaches the topmost trophic level. and this is how the tertiary consumer or the consumer at the highest level, tropic level number 4, gets the maximum of this. So this is a important issue of biological magnification. Then there is a small topic, how do human activities affect the environment, because we are studying of environment. So there are various ways in human activities destroy the environment. First is air pollution. So due to a large number of vehicles, industries, all these things, continuously air is being polluted with different types of pollutants. This has resulted in many respiratory diseases, breathing diseases, skin problems. This is affecting the humans only. Next comes water pollution. This is caused by mixing of contaminated water into fresh water bodies. Then lack of proper sewage system. This is because of defecation, which is a big problem all over the world. Then oil spills, huge tankers, they spill oil because of some freak accidents. This all results in this, and all these things ultimately end up in polluting the water bodies. The third thing is deforestation. Man has continuously cut down forests for building of roads, factories, parks, everything. But what has happened is, due to this deforestation, if you can see, the carbon dioxide content is increasing, because the maximum consumer of carbon dioxide is trees, and if you are cutting down tree, obviously two things will happen. First is the carbon dioxide content will decrease because there is decreased photosynthesis. Second thing is, because of decreased photosynthesis, the oxygen content also will decrease. So we are having a damage in two ways. Next comes global warming. Now this is directly related to the taking away of green cover, and because of this, global warming has resulted due to greenhouse gases, and this is the reason which has resulted in melting of the ice caps, causing ice caps, increase in sea levels, tsunamis, cyclones, and other natural disasters. This is creating a havoc in the world. Then increased use of chemicals. Everywhere chemicals are being used for production, protection, processing, and storage. Now in all these things there is a rampant use of chemicals, and these are the things which do not get digested in our biological system. Then comes exploitation of marine life. Extensive fishing activities going on, due to which there is an imbalance in the marine life also. It is naturally balanced, but because humans are interfering and carrying out unbalanced activity, this is the reason. Extinction. Many animals have gone extinct because of extensive hunting, poaching, pollution, destruction of natural habitats. Man is capturing the forest for his own benefit, but we are driving away the animals from their homes. This has resulted in extinction of some forests. And urbanization. Nobody wants to live in a village. Urban cities are formed, due to which we are destroying the whole natural ecological system. Then comes a very important thing called ozone. So what is an ozone? Ozone is a molecule of oxygen which is made up of 3 atoms of oxygen. It is an isotope of oxygen. So when one oxygen atom combines with one molecule of oxygen, it will form O3, which is called ozone. Now how is this ozone formed? So it is because of the sun's UV radiations that an oxygen molecule is split into 2 oxygen atoms. They are separated, but in nature these separate ones, they again recombine with the remaining oxygen atoms present in atmosphere, and that leads to the formation of ozone. So we can see here. So this ozone is very important for us because it does most very important things. So what is ozone and where it is formed? So we will see this is the surface level. So at 0 to 10 miles we have a troposphere, above which we have a stratosphere. Now in between the stratosphere you have a layer of ozone. Now what does ozone actually do? So if you can see, this is the radiations of the sun. There are 3 types of very dangerous radiations: UV radiation A, B, C. If you can see, they are filtered, they are stopped by the ozone layer. So what does ozone? So ozone exists in the stratosphere, and it is a layer where maximum concentration of ozone molecules are formed, and it protects us from the harmful radiations of the sun. Now the ozone layer has also been punctured, it has been destroyed, it has been damaged, it has been thinned due to extensive use of chemicals in the past, but that damage has already been done. So which is these chemicals which endanger the ozone layer? Those are called chlorofluorocarbons, CFCs. So what are CFCs? They are basically hydrocarbons where the hydrogen atoms are subsequently substituted by chlorine and fluorine atoms. So that is why it's called chlorofluorocarbons. Now the problem with them is these CFCs are very stable at higher temperatures, and they do not react with anything. But as they rise in the atmosphere, they ultimately end up near the ozone layer, and there they react with it. Now when they react, they thin the ozone layer, they deplete the ozone layer, and they even puncture the ozone layer. So the reasons for depletion of ozone layer is the use of CFCs and nitrogen monoxide levels. If you can see, Antarctica is already having an ozone layer, it means the damage has already started. So how do the ozone layer damage us? Now if the ozone layer is thinned or punctured, we are exposed to the UV rays of the sun, which are very dangerous, causing skin cancer, cataract, and other eye defects. First thing. Second is it also decreases the crop yield and reduces the population of the marine life, which has those phytoplankton, zooplankton, and certain fish larvae. They are all destroyed. So even the aquatic food chains are disturbed. Third thing is, because of all this, there is a damaging effect on global rainfall. It means the whole balance of nature is disturbed. Food production is disturbed, ecology is disturbed, even the natural phenomena like tsunamis, volcanoes, and earthquakes, then global warming, all these result from all this. So this is what we can see here. So this layer is actually protecting us. So this is the troposphere, this is the stratosphere. So this ozone layer is actually very beneficial to us. Now comes in the last, garbage management. So what does garbage management mean? Nowadays it has become of great importance, because every day we are producing more and more garbage because of our lifestyle. So to transport, to dispose, and ultimately to convert this garbage into more useful products is called garbage management. So biodegradable waste can easily be converted, but what about non-biodegradable waste? So these are also being planned to be used more effectively. So more and more garbage is being generated due to improvement in life. So everywhere we want some packaging, some extra packaging, so these are all relating, and we are using so many electronic devices. This also ends in garbage. We are also using so many new products which have chemicals. So ultimately they end up in the garbage dump. So how do we dispose it of? So this becomes a big issue. So more and more disposable items are used, and the change in the packaging. Now instead of having only one wrapping, we are having 2 wrappings, 3 wrappings. All these are enhancing the problem of garbage disposal. So what are the steps? So first is we have to promote afforestation. Without trees we cannot live. Second is garbage has to be properly managed, put into bins. Then recycling and reusing wherever possible. Proper sewage treatment so the water is not polluted. The maximum use of public transport so that pollution levels are decreased. Going to more eco-friendly ones like solar energy and electric energy. Then avoid and reuse the plastics, so banning of plastics and all that, and poaching and hunting of animals. So this we can also see in this thing, how to protect, ways of protecting the atmosphere. So first is you conserve energy by all means, you save water because water is very precious. Use eco-friendly products which will help the environment. Use filtered water. This is a major issue in most parts of the world. Start a compost pile. This will help in converting garbage into compost. Then plant vegetables, recycle and reuse many items, pick up the litter, don't scatter litter because this leads to unhygienic conditions. Then use homemade products and generally use cloth shopping bag. So these are the different ways in which we can